Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Welcome everyone. So now, today I am reading Madhyam Nikaya, Sutta number 53. It's called Sekha Sutta. So here, in this Sekha Sutta, Venerable Ananda, the Buddha's assistant, gives a teaching on the qualities of the Sekha. The meaning of Sekha is the noble disciple in training. We call sotapanna as well. Basically, the noble disciple who is in training can be defined as the one who has seen the Dhamma, having attained at the very least the first stage of awakening. We call it sotapatti. And here in this sutta, Venerable Ananda lists and clearly defines the qualities of the noble disciple. For example, high moral conduct, restraint in behavior, and protection of the six sense doors, including moderation in eating or moderation in consumption of food or anything coming in through the senses. It can be anything. And in this sutta, Venerable Ananda talks about the alertness and mindfulness, unshakable belief and unshakable confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. In addition, he talks about the wise moral shame and wise moral fear. So we can understand the value of having spiritual friend through this sutta. In addition, we can understand the role of the jhanas in everyone's progress. Here, the meaning of jhana is nothing but level of understanding, how we understand. So I'll start reading the sutta.
Before you start, do you have a link you want to share?
I have a PDF copy, Bante, so
okay.
I'll share it later. Or
okay, you can share now, so people can follow them. Or if you have used the Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, then there is an online link I can give.
Okay. So I'll start reading, and if you have, please share. I don't. Okay.
You can start reading.
Okay, Bante. So Sekha Sutta, the disciple in training. Thus have I heard, on one occasion, the Blessed One was living in the Sakyan country at Kapilavatthu in Nigroda's park. On that occasion, a new assembly or town hall, had recently been built for the Sakyans of Kapilavatthu, and it had not yet been inhabited by any recluse or Brahmin or human being at all. It was newly built. Then the Sakyans of Kapilavatthu went to the Blessed One. After paying homage to him, they sat down at one side and said to him, Bhante, a new assembly hall has recently been built here for the Sakyans of Kapilavatthu, and it has not yet been inhabited by any recluse or Brahmin or human being at all. So Bhante, let the Blessed One, let the Tathagata be the first to use it. When the Blessed One has used it first, then the Sakyans of Kapilavatthu will use it afterwards. That will lead to their welfare and happiness for a long time. So it was their belief. The Blessed One consented in silence. Then, when they saw that he had consented, they got up from their seats and, after paying homage to him, keeping him on their right, they went to the assembly hall. So it is one of the way to show respect. Keeping him on their right, they went to the assembly hall. They covered it completely with coverings and prepared seats. And they put out a large water jug and hung up an oil lamp. Then they went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, they stood at one side and said, Venerable Sir, the assembly hall has been covered completely with the coverings, and seats have been prepared. A large water jug has been put out, and an oil lamp hung up. Now is the time for the Blessed One to do as he thinks fit. So here, the people of the Kapilavatthu are requesting Tathagat to enter into that particular hall. And they are requesting him to come as per his convenience, one to do as he thinks fit. Then the Blessed One dressed, and taking his bowl and outer robe, he went with the Sangha of bhikkhus to the assembly hall. When he arrived, he washed his feet and then entered the hall and sat down by the central pillar facing the east. And the bhikkhus washed their feet and then entered the hall and sat down by the western wall facing the east, means exactly in front of the Buddha, with the Blessed One before them. And the Sakyans of Kapilavatthu washed their feet and entered the hall and sat down by the eastern wall facing the west with the Blessed One before them. Yes, wait a minute. Then the Blessed One had instructed, urged, roused, and encouraged the Sakyans of Kapilavatthu with the talk on the Dhamma for much of the night. He said to the Venerable Ananda, Ananda, speak to the Sakyans of Kapilavatthu about the disciple in higher training who has entered upon the way. My back is uncomfortable. I'll rest it. So here we can understand that there was some kind of physical pain, like back pain. So Buddha will take rest here and Ananda will guide to the people of Kapilavatthu. Yes, Venerable Sir. The Venerable Ananda replied. Then the Blessed One prepared his patchwork cloth, folded in four, and lay down on his right side in the lion's posture, with one foot overlapping other, mindful and fully aware. After not after noting in his mind the time for arising. So this is really important. Like the speciality of the Buddha's teaching is that we can also experience all these things. For example, we can determine the time to wake up in the morning and all. Many people experience these things in their physical retreats. Then Venerable Ananda addressed Mahanama, the Sakyans thus. Now, Mahanama is one of the cousin of the Buddha and Venerable Ananda. And that time he was ruling the Kapilavatthu. So Venerable Ananda said, Mahanama, here a noble disciple is possessed of virtue, guards the doors of his sense faculties, is moderate in eating, and is devoted to wakefulness. He possesses 7 good qualities, and he is one who obtains at will without trouble or difficulty the 4 jhanas that constitute the higher mind and provide a pleasant abiding here and now. So here we can understand the meaning of jhana as the level of understanding. And how is a noble disciple possessed of virtue? Here, a noble disciple is virtuous. He dwells restrained with the restraint of pati mokha. Pati mokha is the code and conduct for the bhikkhus, where 227 rules are given. Vinaya. He is perfect in conduct and resort and seeing fear in the slightest fault. He trains by undertaking the precepts. This is how a Sekha or a noble disciple is possessed of virtue.
For lay people, we can say 5 precepts. You can kind of replace the Patimukha with the 5 precepts also.
5 precepts. Right.
So the concept remains the same, and rest of the thing remains the same for all lay and this thing for the monks.
Right. And how does a noble disciple guards the doors of his sense faculties? On seeing a form with the eye, a noble disciple does not grasp at its signs and features. Means he does not go into the details and craving. Since if he felt the eye faculty unguarded, evil, unwholesome states of covetousness or craving and aversion might invade him. He practices the way of its restraint. He guards the eye faculty. He undertakes the restraint of eye faculty on hearing a sound with the ear, on smelling an odor with the nose, on tasting a flavor with the tongue, on touching a tangible with the body, on cognizing a mind object with a mind. A noble disciple does not grasp at its signs and features. Since if he left the mind faculty unguarded, evil, unwholesome states of craving and aversion might invade him. He practices the way of its restraint. He guards the mind faculty. He undertakes the restraint of the mind faculty. That is how a noble disciple guards the doors of his sense faculties. Would you like to add something, Bhante?
This is for any kind of the basic premise of 6 hours is there over here, where whenever we are our attention goes to something, then we recognize that our attention is not there on the wholesome. Then we let go, then we relax, re-smile, return, and remain. So this can be applied to all sense faculties, because if you are not paying attention, then we are having this prapancha, that is MN 18, where the Buddha is saying that when there is a feeling, there is a perception. When there is a perception, then there is a proliferation, means there is a kind of a multiplying of whatever is the thoughts and the feelings are there. So that one can be kind of careful in this aspect.
Right. That is how a noble disciple guards the doors of his sense faculties. And how is a noble disciple moderate in eating? Here, reflecting wisely, a noble disciple takes food neither for amusement nor for intoxication, nor for the sake of physical beauty and attractiveness, but only for the endurance and continuance of this body, for ending discomfort, and for assisting the holy life. considering, thus, I shall terminate old feelings without arousing new feelings, and I shall be healthy and blameless, and shall live in comfort. That is how a noble disciple is moderate in eating. And how is a noble disciple devoted to wakefulness? Here, during the day, means daily we can do all these things, all these positive activities. While walking back and forth and sitting, a noble disciple purifies his mind of obstructive states. Like as soon as the craving is there, he recognizes that there is a craving. Release it, relax whatever the tension and tightness is there. After relaxing, he give a new object. Here we give in the form of smile. And so that this 6R is exactly the right effort. Disciple purifies his mind of obstructive states. In the first watch of the night, while walking back and forth, sitting, he purifies his mind of obstructive states. In the middle of the night, he lies down on the right side in the lion's pose, with one foot overlapping the other, mindful and fully aware after noting in his mind the time of rising. After rising in the first watch of the night, while walking back and forth, sitting, he purifies his mind of obstructive states. That is how a noble disciple is devoted to wakefulness. So, with the consistent practice, we can achieve all these things. And how does a noble disciple possess 7 good qualities? Here, a noble disciple has faith. He places his faith in the Tathagata's enlightenment thus. The Blessed One is accomplished, fully enlightened, perfect in true knowledge and conduct, sublime knower of words, incomparable leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, enlightened, blessed. In this way, the disciple or the sotapanna has this kind of faith. He has shame. He is ashamed of misconduct in body, speech, and mind, ashamed of engaging in evil, unwholesome deeds. He has fear of wrongdoing. He is afraid of misconduct in body, speech, and mind, afraid of engaging in evil, unwholesome deeds. He has learned much, remembers what he has learned, and consolidates what he has learned. Such things or such teachings are good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, like a sugarcane, a simile of sugar. With the right meaning and praising and affirm a holy life that is utterly perfect and pure. Such teachings as these he has learned much of, remembered, recited, recited verbally, investigated with the mind, and penetrated well by view. He is energetic in abandoning unwholesome states and is undertaking unwholesome states. He is steadfast, firm in striving, not remiss in developing wholesome states. So here we can understand this like whenever a distraction arises. So with the Hassa Pachaya Vedana, Vedana Pachaya Tanha, Tanha Pachaya Bhava, Bhava Pachaya Jati, Jati Pachaya Jara, Maranam, Dukkha, Domanassa, and the whole mass of suffering. So here we can say that with arising of contact, first with arising of contact, feeling arises, and the feeling could be either pleasant, painful, or it could be a neutral. With feeling as a condition, craving arises, tanha is there, and with craving as condition, clinging is there. Means the whole story about why I like this thing or I don't like this thing, and with clinging as condition, habitual emotional tendencies arises, and with the arising of all these habitual emotional tendencies, there is a birth of action. And if we are able to recognize that distraction there, then we can like go away from all this kind of suffering, the whole mass of suffering. So he is very alert here and energetic in abandoning all these unwholesome states.
This is
He
also
is,
expression of 6R, no?
yes,
When your mind is on unwholesome, you recognize, release, relax, re-smile, and return.
exactly. So he has mindfulness. He possesses the highest mindfulness and skill. He recalls and recollects has what was done long ago and spoken long ago. Means he is in sati, mindfulness. He remembers everything, like how mind's attention moves from one object to another object. He is wise. Wise, he has wisdom, means he is aware about the Four Noble Truths practically. He possesses wisdom regarding rise and disappearance that is noble and penetrative, and leads to the complete destruction of suffering. That is how a noble disciple possesses seven good qualities. So these are the seven good qualities of a noble disciple. And how is a noble disciple who obtains at will without trouble or difficulty? The four jhanas that constitute the higher mind and provide a pleasant abiding here and now. Here, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, a noble disciple enters upon and abides in the first jhana, first level of understanding, with stilling of applied and sustained thought. He enters upon and abides in the second jhana, with fading away as well of rapture, piti. He enters upon and abides in the third jhana, with abandoning of pleasure and pain. So in fourth jhana, there is no pleasure, there is no pain. He enters upon and abides in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and purity of mindfulness due to equanimity. So equanimity plays a very vital role here in fourth jhana and in every jhana basically, but here it's really important. That is how a noble disciple is one who obtains at will without trouble or difficulty the four jhanas that constitute the higher mind and provide a pleasant abiding here and now. When a noble disciple has thus become one, is possessed of virtue, who guards the doors of his sense faculties, who is moderate in eating, who is devoted to wakefulness, who has possesses seven good qualities, who obtains at will with trouble or difficulty the four jhanas that constitute the higher mind and provide a pleasant abiding here and now. And here he is called one in higher training or Sekha who has entered upon the way, sotapanna, entered upon the way. Now, the simile of eggs is given, eggs and hen here. His eggs are unspoiled. He is capable of breaking out, capable of enlightenment, capable of attaining the supreme security from bondage. So he has the capability, the supreme security from bondage. And the example we can see here, suppose there were a hen with 8 or 10 or 12 eggs, which she had covered, incubated, and nurtured properly. Even though she did not wish, oh, that my chicks might pierce their shells with the points of their claws and beaks and hatch out safely. Even though she did not wish, yet the chicks are capable of piercing their shells with the points of their claws and beaks and hatching out safely. So too, when a noble disciple has thus become one who is possessed of virtue, he is called one in higher training, who has entered upon the way. His eggs are unspoiled. He is capable of breaking out, capable of enlightenment, capable of attaining the supreme security from the bondage. Would you like to elaborate this example, Bante?
There is one other way of looking at it is Bante Vimal Ramsi used to say that there was a book at the time when he was a layperson, The Crack in the Cosmic Egg. The book kind of said that you are kind of in an egg and you have to get out of that egg or shell, and that is how you go into another reality. Bhante used to say that he can only crack the egg, so he can show the way.
Yes.
After that, you have to practice to kind of get out of that egg. And one other way of looking at it is that if you're doing the correct actions, then you don't have to worry about the results. The result will come any which ways. In the same way as the hen sits on the eggs, it may not have a thought that this eggs should hatch, but the eggs will hatch because his actions are in line with reality. So if your
Right.
actions are in line with reality and you don't have any wish to have jhana also, but your six are incorrectly, then you'll be in a jhana automatically. If by continuing the practice you don't want to become a sotapanna, but because you understand the certain things, that you understand the impersonality, you understand that rites and rituals will not kind of take me forward in the spiritual path. You understand that what I am doing will is the correct thing. There are no doubts in the teaching of the path. Then you will become a sotapanna. You may not have a wish, or you may not have a desire also. So in that same way, if you do the right thing, which is in line with reality, in line with the Dhamma, then the results will come even though you do not wish for it. So you have to do your work, and then the results will follow.
Right. Having arrived at the same supreme mindfulness, whose purity is due to equanimity, this noble disciple recollects his manifold past lives. Thus, with their aspects and particulars, he recollects his manifold past lives. This is the first breaking out like that of the hen's chicks from their shells. Having arrived at that same supreme mindfulness, whose purity is due to equanimity, with the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, this noble disciple sees beings passing away and reappearing. So, all these things like mentioned in different suttas, like 51 sutta is there, 25 is there. He understands how beings pass on according to their actions. This is the second breaking out, like that of the hen's chicks from their shells. Having arrived at that same supreme mindfulness, whose purity is due to equanimity, he realized by realizing for himself with direct knowledge, this noble disciple here and now enters upon and abides in the deliverance of mind, and deliverance by the wisdom the tentless that are tentless with the destruction of tents. This is the third breaking out, like that of the hen's chicks from their shells. When a noble disciple is possessed of virtue, that that is his conduct. When he guards the doors of his sense faculties, that is his by his conduct. When he is moderate in eating, that is by his conduct. When he is devoted to wakefulness, that is his conduct. When he possesses seven good qualities, that is his conduct. When he is one who obtains at will, without trouble or difficulty, the four jhanas that constitute the higher mind and provide a pleasant abiding here and now, that is his conduct. So, in this way, after practicing and that particular person gets some psychic abilities, we can say. When he recollects his manifold past lives with their aspects and particulars, that is his true knowledge. When with the divine eye he sees beings passing away and reappearing, and understands how beings pass on according to their actions, karmas. That is his true knowledge. When, by realizing for himself with direct knowledge, he here and now enters upon and abides in the deliverance of mind and deliverance by wisdom that are tentless with the destruction of the tents. That is his true knowledge. This noble disciple is thus said to be perfect in true knowledge, perfect in conduct, perfect in true knowledge and conduct. And this stanza was uttered by Brahma, Sanak Kumara. One of the Brahma was there, Sanak Kumara, when Venerable Ananda was advising to Mahanama, that Brahma, Sanak Kumara uttered this stanza. The noble clan is held to be the best of people as to lineage, but best of gods and humans is one, perfect in true knowledge and conduct. The noble clan. Here in a Hindi translation, it is translated as Kshatriya. So here that Sanak Kumara says this, but the best of gods and humans is one, perfect in true knowledge and conduct. Now, that stanza
One thing
was
I
well
just wanted to point out over here is that in the suttas, Kshatriyas are considered to be the highest class. And many of the suttas also mentions as Kshatriya to be kind of the higher than the Brahmins. But later on, maybe this system changed. But in the suttas itself, it has been mentioned that in many ways, different ways. And over here also, it is showing that the Brahma is kind of uttering the words saying that the noble clan. And that is a kind of interesting point for me. It is nothing. It is also changing. No, those things are changing. So it's
right.
also impermanence, that being kind of the highest class or anything, that is also impermanent. So that we
Right,
can
right.
kind of, it's an interesting point.
Then the Blessed One rose and addressed the Venerable Ananda thus. Good, very good, Ananda. It is good that you have spoken to the Sakyans of Kapilavatthu about the disciple in higher training who has entered upon the way. Actually, in most of the sutta, when I read some Pali sutta, the suttas entered with the phrase like uh, evam me sutam ekam samayam, like that. But here, this sutta is kind of different because here the Lord Buddha was present over there and Ananda was addressing to the Sakyans of Kapilavatthu. So then the Blessed One rose, and that is what the Venerable Ananda said. The teacher approved, means the Buddha approved. The Sakyans of Kapilavatthu were satisfied and delighted in the Venerable Ananda's words. Yes. So, if anyone have any questions or something regarding to the practice, we can discuss now.
One thing I just wanted to point out regarding the food, there is mention of that to kind of get rid of the old feelings and not create new feelings. Now, these old feelings are the feelings of hunger. So when
Right.
a person is hunger, then what you have to get rid of that old feeling is a logical thing, that you want to eat something and get rid of the hunger. And then the next is not to create a new feeling is don't overeat and create the
Overeat.
feeling
Right.
of heaviness. So that is you use it just to satisfy your hunger, but don't create this old new feeling of being overfull or lethargic. So that
Right.
is a very kind of a interesting way they use the words, but the Buddha uses the words. It's very interesting to see.
Right. So in that way, the disciple is moderate in eating, consumption of food. Yes, Anupamaji, you want to say
Namaste.
something?
Is
Thank
there any diet chart for the disciples? What to eat and what to not eat for our spiritual sadhana?
No, the Buddha said that there is no dietary restrictions. So one of the places the Buddha is there is a sutta. I think it is there in Anguttara Nikaya or Samyutta Nikaya. It is by Buddha Kasapa. Where the Buddha Kasapa is saying that what you say, what comes out of your mouth is more important then what you consume, what goes into the mouth is not that important, but what comes after the mouth. So that's the reason the precept of speech, which is there, the fourth precepts, is divided into four parts. One is you should not lie. One other is you should not create strife. You should not say one thing to one group, another to another group, and make them fight. The third thing is you should not speak ideally like gossip and all those things. Then the fourth is you should not use harsh words, that you should not use abusive words, harsh words. So that has been mentioned very clearly about the speech and very elaborately. So what the Buddha is saying that what you eat does not matter, but what you say matters. In terms of the non-vegetarian food or all these things also, the Buddha has given clear instructions that if the meat has been available to you in the market, it is okay. In one of the suttas, it's clearly mentioned that the person goes to the market and purchases the meat for the Buddha and his disciples. There are restrictions, only four restrictions are there. One restriction is if you see the animal being killed. Second restriction is if you hear the animal being killed. Third restriction is if you suspect the animal has been killed for you. And the fourth, there are certain royal animals like a horse is there. Then there is, I think, some other animal was there. Those animals you should not eat. Then there are certain animals which are when you eat, when you are going into the jungle, it can be a problem. Like hyena is there, snake is there. If you eat their meat, then what may happen is that sweat may come out with smelling of that animal, and then another animal can attack you. So those are the restrictions which are given. But other than that, there are no restrictions for food. I think one of those days I'll share that sutta of Buddha Kasapa. So that's a very good sutta.
Is it Jivak Sutta, Bhante, regarding non-veg food?
I don't remember the name. Maybe it is Jivak Sutta.
Yes.
Hard food and soft food is mentioned, Sindhu has kind of mentioned over there. Yes, hard food and Bante used to say that there are hard food and soft food, but those hard food and soft food is basically advice for the monks to manage their hunger. If they're eating one meal, then they should not have all the soft food only. So they should have soft food is like rice is there, which are easily digestible. Hard food is like nuts and berries are there, which takes a long time to digest. So you should have a combination of that is there, which has been mentioned, so that you can sustain for the 24-hour cycle. But that also depends, because Buddha says that it depends on the amount of food which is there. Buddha says that the moderation of food. How do you consider the moderation of food? Buddha says that sometimes I eat quarter bowl of food. Sometimes I eat half bowl of food. Sometimes I eat 3/4 of food, a bowl of food. Sometimes I eat full bowl of food. Sometimes I eat more than one bowl of food. But the moderation means that when sometimes he is walking many kilometers, so he's very hungry, so he adds more food. Sometimes he has to rest and he is in meditation, so he has very less food. So in that way, it depends on your need of the body. So you have to ensure how you are eating. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, Bhante, may I ask a question, please? Kuntal here. Just 1 minute, I'll put on the camera also. Namo Buddhaya, Bhante. Bhante, the question is this whole thing about jhanas. How does when can you be said to be in jhana? Because, for example, the experiences of loving kindness or equanimity or even quiet mind, all these things, they may happen at different times. But they can happen perhaps whether you are in jhana or not in jhana. So this is a confusing thing, because I'm not sure when you can say, yes, okay, I'm in the first jhana or I'm in the second jhana or whatever.
So Bante is giving very clear indications of what is the jhanas which you are there. When you are in retreat, what he will say is, is there joy coming up when you are doing the meditation. So that would be indication of the first jhana. And then he will say that is verbalization difficult. So when the students say verbalization is difficult, I am not verbalizing now, or it becomes difficult for me to verbalize, then you are in the second jhana, because the verbalization stops over there. Then the third jhana, Bhante will ask, are you seeing the sensation of the body? Certain times you are not feeling the sensation in the arm, or certain times you are not feeling a sensation in the leg. So that is an indication of the third jhana, where the sensation goes and equanimity is a little more developed. Then in the fourth jhana, the Bhante says that has the feeling gone into the head, then that is an indication of the fourth jhana. Then he will give the directions. So when there is an expansion, feeling of expansion, that is the infinite space. When there is a feeling of having blinking, that is the infinite consciousness. When your mind is equanimous, at the time of joy, there is a little bit of vibration is there. But when you are in equanimity, there is a very balanced mind. Sometimes you feel that you have fallen away. So that balance which is there is considered to be in nothingness. But at one point in nothingness, you're unable to radiate. Now that is called the quiet mind, because that is a in-between space. because you will go from nothingness to neither perception or non-perception, and you'll come back into nothingness and then go back to neither perception. So the Bhante said that to simplify the terminology, he said the quiet mind. So then the quiet mind is a space which incorporates nothingness and neither perception or non-perception. So that's the reason when he is talking, he is not talking about neither perception or non-perception. He's talking about quiet mind. But in the quiet mind, you are not always there in the quiet mind, because if you're there always on the quiet mind, you're unable to say what is happening. But our experience in quiet mind is that certain times we are not aware, but most of the time we are aware. But we are unable to radiate. But our mind wants to be there in one place. And then that we can say you are in a quiet mind. So then the jhanas is not important to know for a practitioner. It is just a way of saying gauging, like milestones, which is there. So in one of the suttas, the Buddha is explaining that a few of the bhikkhus have attained to arahantship without going into the path of collectedness. So samatha and vipassana is the path the Buddha has said, but certain monks were not inclined towards the samatha or collectedness of mind. So samadhi was not so very easy for them. So they did this insight meditation. So but in the commentaries it is mentioned that they may have reached the first jhana. But that is as per the commentaries. In the sutta, that has not been clearly mentioned. So maybe we can consider they have been in the first jhana, but they have not gone through this process. So Bhante said that my path which I am teaching is that you have to go through all the jhanas, so you have more understanding. So your understanding is developed more. But in the suttas, they say that you can attain arahanthood or nibbana from the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and all the four arupa jhana. Any of the jhana you can have. So it depends on how you are developing this thing, and it depends on how your understanding. That is the reason Bhante used to say the level of understanding, which Madam Shubham also uses. That is very good.
Yes.
Your level of understanding.
Bhante, then just one follow-up question. I've understood this. The one follow-up question is, therefore, it seems that there is no necessary connection between jhana and hindrances. Because, for example, even when you are in quiet mind, there may be some awareness of some bodily sensation or some stiffness or some hindrance which is there. But at the same time, some of the other conditions of quiet mind may also exist at the same time. And so, are you saying, therefore, that there is no connection of jhana and hindrances?
Yeah, in a way that the hindrances can arise at any place. But when you are in hindrance, you are kind of knocked out of the jhana. Then you 6R and come back to the jhanic space. So Bhante did not kind of emphasize this point because what happens is it confuses the mind. So you are in the jhana space of a quiet mind. When hindrances comes, you are going out of that space, and then you 6R and come back to this space. So you are there in the space of quiet mind. So this is a constant kind of action of the mind based on the habitual tendency to bring up the things or put attention to the things which are arising. That becomes hindrance. Your attention going to that becomes a hindrance.
Okay, but if the attention is not going to that, but if the attention is not really going much, I mean, of course, you know, as you said that even in the snap of a finger, attention can go so many thousands of times back and forth.
Correct.
But in our perception, if that hindrance is just small and it's there in the background, it may be continuous.
Correct.
You know, but the attention is not going there per se. Like when one is not in that state, attention will go there, and you have to 6R.
Correct.
But sometimes you may be in a state of balance or whatever it is when none of those things bother you, but they exist. It is not that you are free of any kind of pain or any kind of anything.
Correct. So arising is like the Buddha was there. He also had pain. He had back pain, and he kind of said that I'll lie down.
Right.
So that pain is not in our hand, because body is not in our hand. So there are things which we can control, things which you cannot control. There are karmic processes which are happening, which are connected to the mind or the body, which arise, give rise to feelings, pain. All those things may come. Your attention going to them is the hindrance, not them
Understood.
being there as it is. So Bhante used to say that the pain is not the hindrance which is there. Like the dukkha is not the pain, but dukkha is wanting it to go away. That means that your attention has gone over there. So
Yes.
that is how you have to understand. And
Yeah.
the process is continuous.
Yes.
So you put your attention on the object of your meditation. If it is quiet mind, then quiet mind. And whenever you recognize the attention is not there, 6 hours, come back.
Thank you very much, Bhante, because this was a very nice distinction. That the hindrance is not the pain, but the hindrance is the attention going there. That was a very nice distinction, which has become now very clear.
Okay, very good. Is there any other questions? And Dr. Madhusudan ji, do you want to add something? We are talking about jhanas and the awareness of it in meditation. Maybe he is not able to join us. But Shubham, you can also add something.
So here in this sutta only, in Sekha Sutta, it's clearly mentioned that there was back pain, a severe back pain to Buddha. It was physical, but there was not mental agitation at all. So that's the point. Like we can understand in every jhanas, there could be distraction. Hindrances are there, but not bothering. No mental agitation.
Yes.
Understood.
Parinibbana Sutta, many times Buddha's illness is mentioned, but it has been mentioned over there that his mind is not shaken.
Right.
The pain has been mentioned very kind of elaborately, that like two people having the strap and then twisting it over here. That is a severe pain. That is severe pain, but his mind would not shake. So that is how you understand the dukkha and the pain. Pain is a kind of inevitable, but dukkha is optional.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Shubham.
Thank you. And Bhante, here in this sutta, it is mentioned that Buddha determined the time to rise. So how to do that? You please explain.
So Bhante used to give this 2 darts also regarding pain. So Sidhu is saying that there is 2 darts. Yes, that is also the sutta. Regarding can you repeat the question?
Like for wakefulness, for determination.
So Bhante used to kind of give this instructions in the retreats, that when you are sleeping in the night, you determine a time to wake up. Say if your alarm had to be there at 5, you can say that I'll wake up at 5:58. And at that point of time, if you're waking up, so you may wake up maybe 5:50, but that does not count. You again determine the next day to wake up at 5:58. So when you hit the 5:58 mark, when you wake up and you see the watch and it is 5:58, then that is the time you have achieved that determination. Then you change the time. Then you say that I will wake up at say 5:01. Then you hit that 5:01 and then change the time once again. And in this way, you kind of develop your mind that when you give the mind the instruction, the mind is following the instructions. So if you follow this process, then what would happen is you will be able to benefit from the higher practices of determination, which is going into the jhana, staying there in a certain jhana. Because in many of the suttas, it has been mentioned, like Sariputta was asked by Ananda, what did you do today? So he said, I stayed in the first jhana. Second day he came, he said, I stayed in the second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, arupa jhana. So in that same way, one can stay in a jhana and by determining come into the jhana immediately. One example Bante gave was of Deepama. They were going to take her out, and they return in the evening. So there was a very tiring day for her. She's a old lady, and then they asked her for a group photograph. So when they asked for the group photograph, she radiantly started smiling. And the photo, when they saw that you had such a kind of difficult day, but at the end you were able to smile so beautifully. So Mama said that I can go in any jhana. So whenever I have to go in a photograph, I go into the third jhana. So by just determining, she can come to that third jhana. So by that process, one can control the mind states. Certain times you have to be in equanimity. There is a difficult situation. And then you can just determine and just go into that fourth jhana and be in the equanimity. Sometimes you need to have compassion. Sometimes you have to have kind of metta. Sometimes you have to have mudita. So whenever that emotions or states are there, then you will be able to. So that determination can help you in the higher practices. So is there any other questions? If there are no questions, then you can, Shubham, you can share the merits.
Okay, I'll share the screen and we'll.
Okay.
Bhante, before that, maybe I would like to share my experience today. Today
Yes,
I was watching ISRO landing, Chandrayaan 3 landing, and
okay.
when it has perfectly landed, and everybody was like happy and their faces were glowing, their efforts were done. And when I saw that, I don't know, there was so much of joy coming up in me. And later on, after a moment, when I realized, oh, this was the joy that I was feeling from the jhana, because I was looking some other people who are happy, who are accomplished. So seeing them, there was so much of joy. I was also like experiencing the joy that they have accomplished. And
Very good. That is a
like,
spontaneous feeling of mudita.
yes, yes.
Very good. So that is how we know how this practice is being kind of coming in life and changing our life experiences, and we are able to recognize that, and it's a higher state of mind, just to be happy for the other's accomplishment. And that is a very good experience. Very good. Okay, then we can now share. Please lead now.
You are on mute, Sindhu. Please unmute yourself and lead us.
Maybe you can lead, Shubham.
Shubham, please lead.
May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear stuck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness.
May beings
inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.